It started with an Instagram post saying that there would be an aviation meetup on Clubhouse in the room at, I guess, like 7 o'clock, and someone started a room. And literally, I think a good portion of us knew other people within aviation peppered in, but it was the first time I've ever seen anybody set up a forum where everyone in different realms of aviation got together, whether they were an avionics, mechanic, pilot, controller, and we all had a conversation. And that one room lasted 7 days. Over the 7-day period, the room just kept opening, and eventually we figured to organize and let's create this and make this a reoccurring process. There's nothing like it. And so the Past, Present, and Future Culture Aviators was created, and we created the first aviation clubhouse on Clubhouse.
Still the largest.
Still the largest. Yeah, just a space for everybody to come together and share their passions, help out anybody we can in any way, shape, or form, fashion. Even if you're interested in it, come along. We'll tell you how to get started. We got resources, people to just reach out to and get you started, because that's the biggest thing, to know somebody in aviation. So I wish I had that, so I want to be an outlet for the next generation. So.
Why is that community so important? Like, how does it help people along to have somebody?
Just
resources.
Resources.
Resources in aviation. You learn something, you keep it to yourself because of how hard you work to get that information. And we wanted to provide a vehicle where you have a private pilot, a commercial pilot, a student pilot, and an air traffic controller. We also have a dispatcher and a military pilot with all our information and all the road that we took to get to where we are. Why can't we share that information and then bring other people who have information to share? So pretty much we ran the room, we moderated, but the room just took over itself with all the experience from different countries, different aspects of aviation. Not just we had aviation law, we had avionics,
mechanics, anything you could think of.
Rampers, flight attendants, anything that touched aviation.
It was there.
The biggest perk was people would come in, they have questions that they didn't know who to ask, because they were just either enthusiasts or just getting started, and they had questions, and they had a variety of people to ask questions to. And I think maybe my most favorite part is when people that's already in training, especially like private pilots, they come in and they'll ask questions like, I'm doing this wrong and I'm really having trouble with this, like, does anybody have any tips? And we have a lot of CFIs, flight instructors in there, and they'll give tips. And I remember giving someone a tip when they came back to the room next door. It's like, what you just told me, I can do it now. Like, thanks to the tips that you gave me. So to me, that was just like, it was all worth it, just paying it forward, getting people through.
Yeah, one of the biggest things we noticed was that because Clubhouse was online, we were able to kind of bridge the gap across time zones, across countries, across all facets and avenues of aviation. So we noticed a pattern where people would come in the room and they would ask similar questions. How do I get started, or how do I flare, or when do I know how to land? And just because there were so many different people, not just from different areas, but different walks of life as well, you'd get different opinions on the same question. So you ask one question one time, and you've got someone from Germany telling you how they do it there. You've got someone in Alaska. You've got someone in North Carolina. And then as it continued, they would bring more people. And so before we knew it, the room just kind of became this organic instrument of aviation where people knew, hey, if you have a question, come talk to these people. And if they don't know the answer, they know someone who knows someone that can get you the answer. And it became this large avenue where people just started making friendships, connections, getting jobs. It's been an amazing experience.
All right, let's take it up to a higher level. What is Clubhouse? How would you explain Clubhouse to somebody?
So Clubhouse, if you know what a podcast is, imagine Clubhouse as being a live podcast where you can go on, you can create any type of subject that you want. If you want to talk about New Balances, politics, religion, anything, you can go on to Clubhouse, create a profile, and say, hey, at 7 p.m. I would like to make a room about talking about Skittles. And you can make a room and people will come in. You can bring what's called a stage so that everyone who's in that stage can talk. And you have a forum, a discussion, and then you have what's an audience. So if you just want to be a spectator and just listen to what the discussion is, you can. And there's several to hundreds of rooms going on at multiple times throughout the day. And you can always chime in and walk in or tap into a room. And it's all on your phone. It's all audio. There's no video involved. And you can it allows people to reach out and have a voice in a way that you didn't have before, that's outside of Twitter or Facebook or having to edit and post a video and put it on YouTube or do a podcast. It's live action and multiple people all over the world can join in, and that's pretty much, I mean,
It's
if anybody
Zoom with all the video cameras turned off.
Absolutely.
There's no video. It's like Zoom with nobody with the camera.
Exactly.
Talking, everybody can come in and talk.
I'm kind of here for that. That's what are some of those common questions that you get from people that have the dream but not really the knowledge to get
How much does it cost to get started?
Yeah.
How do I get
How do I get started?
How do I get started?
That was the big question.
Who to go to get started?
And that was the biggest thing.
Where's the best area to start?
Right.
What are plane prices? What's the best plane to train in? Stuff like that.
I think overall to get started is ask the question. A lot of people are intimidated to ask the question because they feel that they're too old or it's too out of reach for them or it's too expensive. But just asking the question gets you through the door. Like, I don't know the answer, but I think I know somebody. I have a friend of a friend whose son is a pilot. We can ask them, and that's literally how most people get into aviation. It's just asking the question and getting it started. And once you do that and just keep asking questions, you'll realize there's programs, there's grants, there's different scholarships, because everyone who's a pilot enjoys it so much
That we don't mind sharing
that they want to share the information and want other people to be pilots. So there's so many programs and information out there.
So how did this help you all? Like, clearly you've formed like really good friendship from different backgrounds, different parts of the country, and it seems like y'all are the pandemic friends that held on. How has forming this helped you all personally?
I can say me personally, these guys right here, and plus the other two that are not here, they've definitely motivated me and kept me like afloat. Like, nah, you're gonna get after this. Even in my training, just helping me like through my struggles. Any questions I have, any ATC questions, I can come to her. I can come to her and ask her about any flying when she's CFI. So, and we just challenge each other. We push each other all the time and motivate us. So it's really helped us a lot. So
absolutely, the latest competition is who's gonna get commercial
so first. I think it's gonna be me, but hey, I mean,
it's very interesting how the group formed. Right, we started off connecting with each other because we wanted to help other people, and then in the long run we ended up helping each other, right? So there's two of us that are not here. One of them is a dispatcher at a major airline, and another is in the Army flying helicopters and flies jets outside of that, right? So when I first met this group, I was brand new fresh private pilot. So I would come to this group and I would say, hey Shanita, I've got a question about this, because Shanita is also a CFI. Or hey, I was at the airport and the controller told me to enter a 3-mile left base. What does that mean? Talking to April because she's a controller at Teterboro. And so it was just a pool of people where I could go ask a question and get an answer immediately, but from multiple perspectives. And then as we continued that, we realized, hey, we have a lot of common. We have the same sense of humor. We all share the same interest and passion for aviation. And the friendship started to grow. The group was growing, and before we knew it, and
then we all realized we were all silly.
Yes. That's the big part.
Having spent an hour with you last night, I can believe that 100%.
Yeah, and even when I started, I didn't even have my private yet, and now look at me. We're racing to get our commercial, so it tremendously helped me. Yeah. So
I say, and the other thing is, we got him questioning how much further he wants to go in aviation when he is in IT.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he's got to have the IT job to pay for the aviation.
Listen, that's it.
Don't give that up.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Anything else you want to touch on? Any other points?
Honestly, for me, I don't know where this will go out, but I just want to say, if there's anyone that's watching and you're wondering, can I get started in aviation? The answer is overwhelmingly yes. I grew up not knowing that being a pilot was a path that was obtainable or something that I could do. You don't see people that look like me frequently in aviation, especially in the seat of a pilot. And so being in this group and being able to meet people like Shanita and George and other people that are from similar backgrounds as me, that look like me, that share the similar experience as me, and to see them go further inspires me to be able to go. And so I want to be able to push that on and say, if you're thinking about it, if you're curious about it, if you're not even sure if you're thinking about it or curious about it, ask the question, meet people, shake a hand. It is obtainable. All you have to do is take that first step, go to an airport, go to an FBO, make a friend, and you're in it. You're in it.
But I will say,
for being a friend.
I will say one thing that most pilots forget. not everyone's meant to be a pilot, and that's okay. Like, I started out wanting to be a pilot. I wanted to be a pilot wholeheartedly. I wanted to be Top Gun, and I realized it just wasn't my realm. I was better as a controller. And for everyone else can't be a controller either, but there's different areas in aviation that you thrive in, so don't be afraid or intimidated that you're not getting it, or this is not a good fit and this aviation's not for me. There's so many avenues within aviation. That's what was best about this group, because there were a lot of things I didn't even know about. But I want everyone out there to know that if you love just being at the airport, being surrounded by the energy, I do not fly planes, but I feel like I'm just as immersed in what goes on with my friends who are pilots, because of my love of aviation, and I know that I can support them better because I have a different angle that they don't have, whether it was me being a mechanic or me understanding how to do flight plans or even being a dispatcher like Victoria. So you do not have to be a pilot, you do not have to be a controller, but just know that if you love aviation, there's a spot for you. Even if you're just a spectator and want to be a support, work the ramp, anything, there is a spot for you. So don't feel as though, I can't do it. There's always somewhere for you to be. There's a home in aviation for everyone.
Yeah, there is a home. Yeah, we have the same similar backgrounds. I'm from New Orleans. Aviation is not present there. It's only if you know. Growing up, we only knew the military, and I was like, Father, I don't want to go to the military. But it took me meeting somebody. He literally drugged me and said, I'm going to teach you how to fly. And from that moment on, I'm here. So I'm forever indebted to the guy who taught me, who took me under his wing and got me to this moment. Because if I hadn't said anything, I overheard him say he's a pilot in the lobby. And I was like, I have to meet this guy. And I took that step. And now I'm here today with almost about to complete my commercial rating, working for a major airline. So
that's good. That's good. What are some ways that we can, obviously there's, economic barriers to getting involved in aviation, but what are the cultural barriers that we can help break down? Like how can we let people that maybe don't see people represented that look like them at the highest level in aviation, what can we do to make sure that people know they're welcome if they don't look?
Well, first,
mentoring
is huge. The other is from, if you're not of a minority race, not assuming that we're the help goes a long way, because it already sets the tone off, and it already throws off the energy of how we're going to encounter you, because I feel like now you feel as though I'm automatically beneath you because you see me. I know Shanita had an experience. When she was a captain for a charter airline. For a charter company, and the passengers walked out and dropped their luggage in front of her, like assuming that she was the ramper.
You're the boss. You're the air traffic controller.
You would think.
That's the lie she tells herself.
right.
But I can't be. I mean, I have been told when someone asks me, I'm used to hearing that's a stressful job when I tell people that I'm an air traffic controller. Someone has actually said, "Don't you have to be smart for that?" And I was taken back because I'm like, wow, I haven't even said anything to you, and that was their first response to me. That was their initial response. I'm always being asked to show my credentials when I'm walking through the airport or I'm walking on the airfield, because it's just assumed that I'm not supposed to be there. So if we get rid of that mentality that we're not supposed to be there and that everyone is welcome, that is a huge start. And then I don't have to work so hard to prove that I belong.
Yeah.
I don't know about everyone else's experience.
I think to your question, I think interviews like this, what we're doing, help bridge that gap and soften the barrier. Where for me, before Clubhouse, before this group, I didn't know anyone that looked like me or had my sort of background that was in aviation at all. And so, this group gives me a lot of grief about my Instagram, but I do take it seriously somewhat. It's kind of mostly because the exposure that I have on Instagram, the number of messages that I get from people saying, hey, I love this post, I love this content, how do I get started? And being able to just send them a message with that sort of advice. But more importantly, if other people see my page and they see me flying and that inspires even just one person that says, hey, he looks like me, or, I want to get in that plane or anything to that point, that is how I want to pay it forward. And so I think putting people like Shanita and April in the front where they can see women, minority women, putting Bradford and I in places where they can see minority men, it's just the more exposure we can get, the more people I think we connect to where they can say, hey, maybe that can be me one day. And so Oshkosh, this event has been great. We've been able to shake hands and go around and just introduce ourselves to so many different people. But I think being online, being exposed, and just being out and seen and present. If we get one person that says, hey, I saw them and I want to do it, that's it.
We won. And to this point, I have a lot of kids. I've done a lot of outreach, and I've spoken to some kids. And I've even asked them, I said, do you think I'm a pilot? You know, kids that look like me, and it's like, no. I'm like, what makes you think I'm not? They're like, I don't know. It's not for us. I said, well, guess what? I'm a pilot. And I said, if I can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely.
Like, simple. If somebody like me can do it, and we paving the way for y'all definitely can do it, you know? Yeah. So that's the biggest thing, just reaching out to them and making them know, like, hey, yeah, we're here. We can. If I can do it, you can do it. So just being that gap, that bridge for them.
That's a couple points. I said a lot. I would say definitely exposure, because how I got into aviation completely wrong. I never grew up wanting to do this, and I actually wanted to pursue being a flight attendant, and it was my mom who motivated me to go and do the pilot route, because in my head I'm just like, this is something we don't do, you know? So, and I'm happy that she did, because now, like, that is like a goal of mine in life, is to try to expose as many people that I can. Before COVID, I would go and do school visits, especially back in my area. I grew up west side of Chicago, kind of on the lower income side. So I always go back to my elementary school in uniform and say, like, hey, I grew up 3 blocks from here. I grew up the same way, the same area you guys did, and look where I am now. Like, I'm an airline pilot now. Airline pilot, a major airline now. So if I can do it, you definitely can too. So that's just my goal in life, because, again, it never crossed my mind. And for so many of us, especially the younger generation, they don't cross their mind either, because we don't have that person saying, you can do this. So that's where we come in, saying that you can do this.